if you're able to respond in the chat, just so we have an idea and can really tailor this to best suit, you know, like your district and the schools that you're in. I know some of you are in career centers, and then some of you are in more like traditional classrooms, and so we just want to get started there. If you cannot get into the chat, that's fine. I can see who responds, and then we'll just call on you so you can talk and share your stuff. But right now I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you can see the presentation for today. And we'll just go to the present button. Okay, so like Nancy said, my name is Karen Edwards. My first field, I guess, outside of teaching is athletic training. That's what my degree is in. Within the state of South Carolina, I was able to kind of do a fast track program into becoming a teacher, and I've been teaching in the classroom for about 7 years now. And I joined in mid-year because some very lovely and challenging students scared away a teacher, and she just chose not to come back. And so I stepped in and took that class, or actually all the classes over for her, and kind of had no idea what was going on. But as you can see, what we talk about within these presentations is some of the stuff that everybody kind of asks, no matter what level, whether you've been teaching 1 year or 20 years, it's all really good information. My contact information is down there at the bottom. Feel free to email me even after a session and you think of a new question, or you want me to go a little bit further into detail, or you want to run an idea by me before you talk with your administration and your professional learning community. I also, this is my Twitter handle, because I am active on Twitter and promoting resources that I find or retweeting things. If you happen to see me tweeting a lot on a Friday or on a Saturday night, you may want to ignore that, because I'm an avid fan of Live PD and will sometimes tweet about the funny things that I'm seeing that EMTs and our law enforcement are having to deal with. So I'm also the president-elect for our State Association of Educators. Rhonda is the current president, so you'll get a little bit of both worlds from us. So right now, what I just wanted to kind of start with is I want to hear from you guys. I know that the majority of you were able to complete that survey we sent out, and we know what kind of courses and stuff, but we'll get to know you a little bit more and what you really need to gain out of this professional development. I know Mia mentioned that it's the internships that her particular school is really looking to develop, and how do you start it, how do you grow it, and then keep it growing. And another thing we're going to talk about is building your professional learning community. It's things like this, participating in professional development, and then also just going through and going to conferences and being able to be a part of that. We're also going to talk about some different resources that we have that we are going to share with you and give you things that you can go ahead and start implementing now. I know a lot of this is done in preparation for next year, as far as talking with your administration and talking with your guidance counselors, but it's also to help develop those plans within the classroom for next year. And then we're going to talk about your personal plan and see how we can help develop that by the end of this a little bit more today. So right now, what I want you to do is within the chat, just enter the course name that you have the highest request for. So for example, in my school, I am at a magnet school, but it's not a traditional magnet school. We have 5 different areas that our students can really focus in on. Exercise science is one of them. And then within exercise science, our highest course that they are registering for is that entry-level health science 1 and the next level of 2. So I started that program. I've been the only health science teacher at that school, and that has grown from having 20 students the first year to, I think we have close to 55 registered this year. So over 3 years, we've gotten it to be a little bit higher. So I'm going to stop sharing just so I can see. Yes, Mia, Rockstar, you're getting on it. I don't know if Amanda, what was your highest course that was requested for this year?
Who, me?
Well, yeah, we can start with Mia. Mia, what was yours?
So when I first got to the high school, there were only 12 that were signed up. Last year, health science education had 50, and this year, health science education has 145 signed up for the health science. So excited about that. And then the clinical internship, we had 45 that applied, but of course we can only pick 15. So I was proud that 45 of them wanted to apply.
Look at that growth that you had. You went from such a small number to 3 years. That is phenomenal. I love it. That is good. We do golf claps a lot. And finger snaps is so when my kids do something good, they just start snapping, and my admin comes in and they're like, what is going on? I'm like, you need to watch Legally Blonde because we do finger snaps. Yes.
Thank you.
Awesome. Carolyn, I'm going to call on you next because you're my next in line. It's kind of like, yay, you never know who I'm going to call on. But Carolyn, what was your highest course for this year? Okay, Carolyn may not quite be able to answer us right now.
Okay, I have a total of 33, and my courses are nursing ed and the clinical internship also.
Good. Those are good numbers to have, and we'll talk about how you deal with a higher number within the clinical internship, because that is something that I deal with because it's not a CNA program and we can't limit that number. So we do have, this year I'll have 27 in that class. So we'll discuss how you can kind of get over that roadblock and that road.
I have a CNA program.
Oh,
and
okay.
Out of that 33, I would only be allowed to do 15.
Right. Okay. But that's good that you have that many that are wanting to take it. That's really good for that. Jacqueline, I'm so glad that you put the snaps in the chat. That makes me so happy. Jacqueline, how many do you have signing up for yours?
Actually, I'm a first-year teacher, and this is the only prep that I have, which is health science, the introduction. Okay. This past year, I had 155 students.
Wow, that is really... Now, how big is your high school that you're at?
We're rounding upwards to almost about 2,000 students.
Oh, that's really good to have those high numbers, and about 2,000 students is really good. And we'll talk about some of the things that I'm sure you faced as a first-year student or first-year teacher, which is kind of like being a student because you're learning everything. Trust me. I've been there recently, so will have some tips for you as well. Amanda, I don't know if you are able to unmute yourself. How many were you having in your enrollment?
I actually don't teach health science. I work for the central office, so I don't have any students.
She's here for attendance, Karen.
Yes.
Just to make sure that I stay on topic.
No, I'm trying to learn. So I advise the health science teachers, but it's such a vast and complex field. Like, this is great. You know, the more I can learn, the better. So
it is, and that's actually something we're going to talk about today is how do we help, you know, those in administration, those at the district office, because there are so many routes and so many different pathways that health science students can take. So that's great. I'm so glad you're here with us. Jason, you're next on my screen. Yay. Are you ready to give us some information? I don't know if you can I unmute him? Oh yeah, there you are.
Yeah, as far as what I'm teaching, the one that has the highest numbers would be the Introduction to Health Science. I had about 65 this year. Last year I had about 35. So a pretty significant increase from last year. And then out of those 35 that took the first year health science, I had 22 that took the next class up.
Okay, and what is your next step up? Because when I was looking at the Tennessee standards for health science, I noticed that several of you can go, you know, like you start with that foundation class and then you kind of branch off into the pathways. Jason, what's that next course for you?
Well, if the school I'm teaching at gets the pathway correctly, it would be the medical therapeutics. But last year I taught diagnostics. So, and because I'm actually teaching the emergency medicine pathway because I'm a paramedic. And,
oh, good.
Excuse me.
Look,
I'm a paramedic, so I'm teaching emergency medicine. So the pathway says I'm supposed to teach medical therapeutics instead of diagnostics, but that's what they had me teaching last year. So I don't know I honestly have no idea what I'm going to be teaching next year.
Yeah, that master schedule, I'm telling you, with everything going on, and we noticed when we were looking at the school district that you were in within Tennessee there, we noticed that they were thinking about potentially doing a blended learning where students would kind of go into the classroom and then also do some distance learning. I'm not sure if that's been finalized, the information that we saw or not. So that's a whole set of challenges and roadblocks, but something that we can come over. And Jason, I know that we definitely want to talk with you. With my athletic training background, I love some paramedics and my EMTs and all of that fun stuff because they get to see the fun injuries before they even get to the emergency room. And that's what I love dealing with on the field. So I'm a bit of the oddball in the group, whereas, you know, most of our nurses see them once we've gotten them cleaned up. But, man, you give me a good break, and I am super excited. So I'm glad that you're here with us.
Yeah, right there with you on that one.
I know.
I'm not technically an athletic trainer, but the school uses me as an athletic trainer on some occasions.
I know
because of my paramedic background, it's pretty close to the same.
Yeah, so you get to do a lot of the fun stuff too.
Oh, yes.
I know, David, I know that you were with us earlier and that you have got that laboratory background. What are some of your highest classes?
Well, the ones I have the most students in this year was diagnostic medicine, which they'll be moving up to anatomy next year. But my highest classes, I guess, would be the pharmacy tech class that we did this year.
Wonderful. Now, with that pharmacy tech class, which program do you use for that?
We're actually going through somebody here locally. It's a group of pharmacists that come out and teach.
Oh, that's amazing. That's really great that you have that partnership.
Oh yeah, I was listening to Jason. My track's kind of messed up too. They actually what they have me down is teaching what should be the 4th year is EKG, but I have no background in that, which is what I've told them repeatedly. So I don't know what we're gonna do with that. So
before we get to Patrice, just real quick, I was an athletic trainer. I've been certified longer than I would like to admit with that. And when I did my education, we were not doing IVs. We weren't sticking. We weren't doing any of it. Even within the OR, I was in the operating room for a while with our surgeons, still no sticks in there, closing up occasionally, but no sticks. I actually now teach phlebotomy, and we certify in that. So that was something that we'll talk about, how you talk with your administration and getting you certified so you feel comfortable teaching those other programs. I know I did a summer medical camp last year. They actually taught me how to stick, and then I took the course this year and took the test. So it's good though. It's fun. And I like sticking people, but it's certainly not the thing I want to do the most. So props to all of my nurses who were in on this call. Patrice, what about you? What were your highest numbers for this year? If Patrice can hear us.
Yes.
Hey.
Hey. I'm a little different. I'm in a center. So my top number of students, first off, is 23 total. And I guess the top class would have been the pharmacy class. I'm assuming I had 13 seniors. They were taking pharmacy, but they were also taking A&P as well. So, in my center, they actually are taking 2 courses at a time. So I have like a morning group that's like my first level students, my first year students, and they take first and second level classes. We're on block schedule, so the first semester is the first level, and then the second level, the second semester, and then the second year they come back and do the third and fourth levels.
Okay, yeah, look, there are all different styles of programs, and it can be that way even within a district. And we completely understand that and can integrate all of that in. And I'm glad that you guys were using some of your examples through the pathways and the way that your districts are set up. These numbers are really great. And, one day I'm hoping I can hit that 150 that Jacqueline's got, and Mia's getting some awesome numbers up there too. And it really is something to think about. And as we talked about with some of these classes, your highest numbers should be those lower levels. And that's where they're really trying to figure out, do they want to go in the medical route or the health science route, or is there something else that they're looking for? And as those numbers drop off, it's okay. I used to get my feelings hurt all the time going, oh my gosh, I can't believe, my students don't want to continue with me. But as long as they're finding their passion, that's ultimately what we're here for. Now, we want to keep all of our babies, but we do have to release some of them. And so that's good. We'll talk about the completers in just a moment. I know that some of you have mentioned that the true pathway for you guys is a little maybe uneven, or even getting a little jumbled up. Okay, so we'll go over how you can work through that barrier. Now, what I do want to kind of talk about is the percentage of students who are earning certifications, because we know that when we talk with our administration, that's something they want to know. They want to know what's the percentage that you're getting. So for an example, you may have 90% of your class is going to end up with CPR certification. So Mia, I know that you were having some really awesome numbers there. What are the certifications that your students are earning? And then if you know the percentage that are passing those certifications.
So this year, the 84, which were in the medical therapeutics class, at first we were on a really good roll getting the OSHA 10. Of course, with COVID, we, you know, some of them were really, really close, but I just could not get them to finish. But we did have, I think, 27 that finished over the course, like finished up during COVID. So I was really still kind of proud. It was way below my number of percentage, but I was proud of them that some of them still finished. So that was OSHA 10. CPR, we had 60 that was certified last year. So we didn't have to do that this year. We were going to go finish BLS. For some of them, medical assisting, we have those starting next school year, 2021. So the OSHA 10 and CPR were the only two that we had this year.
Now with the OSHA 10, I know a lot of the schools here in South Carolina, we use Career Safe. Is that what you guys use?
Yes,
right.
Wait a minute. Is that what we use, Charnel? Yeah, Career Safe
That's
is the
what
new
we
one.
use.
We did one last year, but this one, we loved Career Safe.
Career Safe is,
That's what we
I
use.
found to be so easy for our students. And they have learned that if they forget their password for Career Safe, and this goes for any online resource that I have for my students, whether it's Career Safe, Health Center 21, the ICEV, if they forget their password and I have to reset it, I reset it to I love Edwards. And they will never forget.
Yeah.
So some of mine have said, oh, I forgot my password. I'm like, oh, but you know what it's going to be now, and
That's
it's reset. Yeah, so that's one of my little tricks there. Carolyn, what about you? What are some of the ones that you use?
I had 27 that completed the CPR.
Okay, good. Now, did you do the Heart Saver, or did you complete the BLS?
We did the BLS.
Okay, good.
And we had 33%, 100% on the OSHA 10, and that was the career
Wonderful.
phase. We would have had 15 in the CNA, but we did not get a chance to complete that.
To complete the hours. And, you know, I think that's something that at least a lot of the districts around here understand, is that because you're unable to complete some of those hours, then you can't test for it. So what is the certifying body that you use for like the CNA or the CMA?
We use for the CNA, we have hands-on, we go to a nursing home, and we get the hands-on care there. And they also do the testing over the internet, and hopefully they'll be prepared at that point to take the CNA exam.
Okay, good. So, and then I see Patricia saying that she uses the AMCA for the CNA. I can't get it right now. Sorry. When the time changed, my husband goes to work. He's night shift right now, almost. And so the girls are forgetting that even though they got to say hello to Nancy earlier, who they have met several times during the COVID instruction, that they can't be up in Mama's ear right now. So I apologize for that. Let's see. Jacqueline, what were your certifications that you were doing this year?
Officially, I had no certifications this year. So what we did unofficially was we went through the American Heart Association hands-only CPR. And I had
Good to give them that exposure.
Yeah.
Good. Absolutely. Anything that you can do to go ahead and teach them now, because wherever they end up working over the summer, you know, it's still a possibility that they'll have to use that information. So good. Jason, what about your kiddos that you have? I know that there's kind of like a transition that you were having. So what were you doing with it?
This year we did CPR. I did BLS. I got 30. I remember 34. I may have had just a couple extras that got the BLS. And also this year we introduced OSHA 10 for me. I had 7 of those. Get that.
7.
And I'm also
How
doing
many?
EMR, but I didn't get to finish any of the EMR because of a lot of the practice and these skills tests. You have to do the written tests, and that didn't happen because all the practice stuff got messed up because of COVID.
I know you said that you were able to have some complete the OSHA 10. How many were in that class?
That class had 22 students. Okay,
and they completed that OSHA 10 during the COVID instruction?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm really glad that you guys are having some that are able to complete that through the COVID instruction. I know that personally, we have kiddos in this area that may not have a device at home, and completing that OSHA 10 was a little challenging for them. So if your kiddos are like some in this area that may not have a device at home or have a good Wi-Fi, 10 is a good number, because, you know, we don't really know what's going on with them at home this year. So that's good that you were able to have that. David, what about you? David, did you have any that were able to complete certification? Okay, David may be having some difficulties there too. Maybe his children are crying too. Patrice, what about you? Which ones were you able to have complete tests for this year?
Well, I did 8 out of 10 of my first year students on Heart Saver CPR, and I had scheduled BLS for my pharmacy tech students right after it was supposed to be spring break, but of course we didn't get to go back, so they didn't get to do it. And I had 3 students to do OSHA 10, and I think the 13 students for pharmacy tech are still scheduled to test. I'm not sure of the date, but I think later in May.
Okay, good. Now,
can you hear me now? This is David.
Yes, yay, we got you back.
Okay.
Yay.
I'm having some audio. I can barely hear you now, but I don't know what's going on with my audio today. I had about 15 that got OSHA 10 certified this year, and I think there were 16 in that class. So I got all but one done, and one did finish at home. At home. Then
well, that's good.
But
now,
the CPR was scheduled for when we came back from spring break, so we didn't get to do that at all.
And
then we're waiting.
That was the same for mine.
To come in when they take their test.
Yeah, that was the same for mine. I know that many school districts have like end of course exams and AP exams, and then you know, ACT and SAT and all the other mini tests in the spring. So I use the after springtime or around that to do the CPR then. So I have smaller class sizes because I teach that. And, you know, like many of you, that we didn't go back. So, yeah. We'll be adding that into the curriculum next year. So good. And it looks like the district pays for the test is what Mia was answering us there for Nancy, which is good. That's how our district does it. But unfortunately, not all districts are able to pay for that. And especially if you're doing some of like the pharmacy testing and things. So I'm glad to hear that that district or you guys are able to do that. I'm going to share my screen again so I don't get too off topic. It happens. And let me go back to presenting. Okay, so what I want you guys to think about right now is actually creating an elevator speech. I'm going to give you a few minutes and I'll kind of tell you what my elevator speech is or was when I wanted to add phlebotomy in. And it's a quick 30-second pitch to administration, because if your administration is anything like mine, you've got to catch them like in the hallway when nobody else is talking to them, in between classes, before you rush to the next class. And in that 30 seconds, think about some of the statistics or numbers that you can give them. Administration loves to hear the number side of it. Go ahead and say, look, I know there may be this barrier, but this is how I'm going to overcome it. So while you're taking a few minutes to think about that, my pitch to my administration for phlebotomy was, we're saving these kiddos $4,000 and getting the certification through us here at the high school versus at the local technical college. And our kiddos may not have the money to pay for that. They're going to come out making around $17 an hour starting out in the area hospitals and labs. The barriers were that, yes, we're going to have needles in our school. And I have already thought about that. It's not going to be an issue. We're going to have them locked in my office. There are 5 people with a key to my office. The other 4 teachers understand that they are not allowed to let students in no matter what circumstance. I don't care if the building is burning down and their cell phone is in there for some reason. And once they knew that I had already thought about the needle issue, how we're going to properly dispose of them, the company that I wanted to come out and take those needles from us, and no, we are not going to stick Miss Edwards 40 times each to get their sticks in, then they were really good with that. Obviously, it took a little bit more of a sit-down, talk-down, but to get that 30 seconds little pitch in and put that seed implant, he was really excited to know that I had already given it that much thought. And something that we can add value to our school and saying, hey, look, there's not many districts in the state that are offering this. We are now going to be a school that offers it. And I know that we don't want to say we compete against each other, but if you're at a magnet school or a career center, that may be something that you need to draw attention to recruit students. And now that's offering you something that is different. It's not necessarily better than the other school, but it's something different and something that you can use to attract the other students. My principal and my career director, even though they may butt heads occasionally, I stay out of it and I just say, hey, look, this is what I want to do. Pretty much who's going to give me the money to do it. And we go from there. So I know that wasn't quite 5 minutes, but it's already hitting at 3:40. And I know Nancy wants me to be able to wrap things up by 4:30. So if any of you are ready to share, you may certainly just unmute yourselves and share what your 30-second little elevator speech would be.
This is Carolyn Scott.
Carolyn, okay, so what would your speech be?
My speech would be CNA is the way to go. Statistically speaking, we have over 400,000 nurses short already, and CNA would be a way for the students to determine if this is what they really wanted to do. You get the experience, the hands-on, and students can use this as a bridgeway to reach their ultimate goal. And hopefully it would be in the medical field.
And, you know, all of those are great selling points for the CNA. And, you know, I think in our district, we have one school that says, well, I don't want to do a CNA program because our students are destined for greatness. And you know what? They are. But when you look at any nursing school to earn your BSN, which is what they're leaning towards, if you're looking at medical schools, physical therapy school, no matter which route, whichever pathway they're taking, when you have that, that's going to allow them to work through school, build their professional learning community, and then be able to give that to your school. So I think that, yes, that is exactly what you need to say. And it, you know, once they get out of high school and they've got that certification, that they're working there versus Whataburger. And I'm only saying that because I don't know why Texas is on my mind right now, and they've got amazing fry sauce. But we want them to really do that. So that's really good. I love that, Carolyn. Is anyone else ready to kind of share?
Sure. What I told my admin is when I pitched the idea for emergency medicine, I told them, I said, listen, emergency medicine is a great way. First of all, we have a major shortage of EMTs and paramedics. Emergency medicine responder is the very first course that they would have to take. And also, if they realize that they're not really that interested in being a medical, like an EMT, they can go in and be a firefighter. They can be a police officer, or they can even be a safety officer on an oil rig, or safety officer in any other major venture, you know. And that's kind of how I pitched it to them. I said, this is a great opportunity. Plus, as a paramedic, I can do all the instruction myself. I don't have to have somebody else come in and do the teaching for.
Right. And Jason, you know, you bring up a really good point. A lot of students, and this is part of what we'll talk about next week as well, is students want to hear your stories. They want to hear, oh my gosh, did you hear that Mr. Atkins was on a call and he saw a bone sticking out? Or, oh my gosh, did you hear, I live kind of like not a real rural area, but where we ride horses is. And my horse instructor is an EMT, and he told me, he sent me pictures one day of how one of the horses had gotten out, not one of his, but he was working. And next thing you know, he had the knowledge to how to approach the horse and get it tied up. And they made it out of just the tape that they had, a little makeshift rope. And now he can take that to, if he's teaching, he can take that to his students and go, oh my gosh, you'll never believe this one time when I was working. And, you know, they're going to go, oh my gosh, did you hear Mr. Atkins and how he did this and how he intubated that person? And they get so excited that you can bring that to the classroom. So that's really good, Jason, that you bring that up. And then, you know, talking about that shortage, and even now approaching it again and saying, hey, look what the paramedics and the EMTs and the first responders were doing during the COVID crisis. And so that's really good. That's great information. Does anybody else want to share?
Well, everybody, they had really good ones. Mine is kind of small, but anyway, I had to pitch an amazing idea to keep my classroom. We tripled the numbers, and that huge classroom helps us to have a practice clinic. This
Yes.
allows the classroom an opportunity to work on interpersonal skills and clinic skills. We are right in front of the cafeteria. That is where the magic happens. And so some of them go and eat their lunch and then come right out, and we have presentations and information sessions. They also can see our times for our clinic practice. This classroom allows them to be well-rounded, be ready for interviews, and also build our program, because when they're standing out in front of that classroom, everybody can see them. And so now I'm pitching an idea to write a grant to redo the entire classroom, because we haven't had a chance to get out. I want to make that classroom the best looking clinic that we can have, and I pitched that idea and I'm excited about it.
Yes, I love it. Oh my gosh, I love it. Now, Mia, early on, she was able to join us a little bit early, and she mentioned Starla, and I don't ever say her last name right, so Rhonda, don't tell her, and Nancy, don't tell her that I didn't say it right. But Starla will tell you, and she tells everybody this, that she has got windows all in her classroom, and that when she teaches cardiovascular, you know, a lot of students, you can't really see, so I'll go a little bit lower, but, you know, they think your heart is up here, and we all know as medical professionals, that's not where it is. And so when she shows where the heart actually is, and I told Nancy I wouldn't do anything too embarrassing, so I had to move my screen back up. But, you know, thumb under on the sternum, and then how you know, you're pretty much cupping your left boob. And everybody sees when her class is doing that. Well, Mia, that's going to be, you know, that's you in your classroom. I'm lucky I don't have a window in my classroom, but we leave the door open, and to get our shock value, I place one of my mannequins in the corner, so when people are walking by, they think they see a person, and it's not, it's my mannequin. But I had an observation with our lovely principal, unannounced, came in during cardiovascular while we were all standing there, and he looked at me and goes, okay, bye. And I was like, okay, bye. Like, yay. So that's really good. Nancy just put that website back up there, and Starla talks all about it in her cardiovascular unit. Another great way, and to build off Mia, so if you don't have, I don't know if the others are more like my classroom where I literally have no window. I'm the only classroom in the entire school without a window. And some days it's okay because less distractions. Other days I think we're climbing the walls. But what we did instead was in our media center, or that's the fancy word that our principal uses for our school library, we took our career presentations, which I use the simplest thing to do. You pull from the HOSA website and the different competitions that they have, you pull their guidelines. So I pulled the guidelines for that. They created their trifold poster. When they did their presentation, we recorded it. I put that to a QR code, and then we took those trifolds into the library with the QR code. So people were able to go around and scan. You can still be a Mia rock star and have these presented in the school in different ways. And so I love that you are fighting for that classroom near the cafeteria, because you are right. The magic happens, and if your school is anything like mine, that's where the fights happen too. So you guys can be some of the first on hand for that first aid. First aid, man, you're there. Don't get in the middle of it. I've learned not to break it up. Don't break it up, Mia. But they can watch you do that first aid, and I love it. That's good stuff. Does anybody else want to share real quick? Any good elevator speeches? No, you guys didn't want to follow Mia and her rock star. Mia, I hope you all get to come to nationals, because if so, I promise you, we're going to be talking about some of these awesome ideas that you guys are sharing too, because they really, this is what building that professional learning community is about, is getting connected with other teachers and being able to go through and share your awesome ideas, and then also share, you know, what may some of the troubles may be. And that brings us into this next slide. So when we're talking about recruiting, you guys, these numbers from where you were starting with to where you are now, you really are growing your programs. And so I think that you guys are doing an amazing job with getting the kids in there. And now, once you get them in there, we're going to talk about how you really want to keep them in there and that recruitment. So once you've identified some of your program needs, and, you know, I know Jason was mentioning making sure that they know the correct pathway to take, you know, like this is class 1, this is class 2, and class 3. And we've kind of built that elevator stance or the elevator talk speech for your admin. So your target audience, as you go through this, is definitely going to be your administration. I know personally, I am at a magnet school in a district that has 3 other, I would say, traditional schools. They all have health science teachers, so I'm not unique. Our magnet school is unique because we offer 5 different pathways: engineering, environmental, exercise science. But I am not unique. You know, health science at my school is not going to be unique unless I make it. And if you're at a career center, that may be the same thing for you too, is that, you know, your homeschool may have some sort of health science class. So how do you get them with you, or how do you keep them? You know, so the other high schools in my area may want to keep their students and not send them to me. Well, you've got to get your administration on board. And there's going to be your school administration, so your principal, your assistant principal of instruction. Those are going to be your ones that you want to go to at your home school. And then, sorry, my nose is itchy. You've got your district administration. And like I mentioned earlier, I've got my school principal that, as I want to build my program, I'm going to, hey, look, I really want to add phlebotomy. It's my goal within the next 2 years, maybe 3 because of COVID, adding EKG as well. So we would have 3 different certifications for our seniors. Well, I've got to get my district administration. So I also have to go to my district Kate person. And unfortunately for me, our career center shares a parking lot with my high school. And so sometimes, you know, it's kind of that tug of war. And does my district admin person agree with my school admin person? And now are they kind of fighting over who wants this program, or, you know, where should the students go to have this program? Don't get in the middle of that. That's above pay grade. That's above what we can control. What you just want to do is give them the same, you know, spiel, same elevator speech. My school admin, I know him. I know he's looking at the numbers. I know he's looking at how can we make the mark for our school without having students readily have needles accessible. You know, he doesn't want to create an unsafe environment. And trust me, I don't want that either. So that's how I'm going to approach him. My district Kate person, he may not be concerned with how I keep the needles safe. because it's not his campus. However, he is concerned with the numbers and how am I going to ensure that just because we have this program doesn't mean my students are passing the certification and bringing in that Perkins fund, because that's what he's concerned about. And I'm going to approach it, okay, so this is how we're going to bring in Perkins, and this is how I'm going to make sure that these students are well prepared to take this certification. And then there's your guidance counselors. If I can give you one take home from this entire 90 minutes that I get of you today, is Lord, be friends with guidance, because they can help your program tremendously, or they can hurt your program if they don't understand it. I have been at a couple of, two different schools. And the first year I started at my current school, I love my current school. They are going to have to drag me out of that school in a body bag. I am not leaving. Okay? I mean, they are great. My first year there, though, at the end of my first year, I was sitting in the API's office, and she looked at me and she said, why are your numbers low for that, the next level course? What went wrong in the classroom? I was sitting there going, what do you mean what went wrong in the classroom? What went wrong was half the class was seniors. They're not here next year. Well, I was the very first health science teacher. Our guidance came from, some came from middle schools, some came from other high schools, but they had not dealt with a health science program since that school had opened. So it had been 2-3 years before they had interest. And so I had to sit down with guidance and say, hey, look, I love you girls. I've got 4 ladies that I work with in guidance. They are phenomenal, because I make my students cry on a daily basis, it seems like, because they didn't realize they were really going to have to, help bathe somebody. And when you help bathe somebody, that means you're cleaning any bowel movement mess up. And, they may have sores and they didn't realize that C. diff really does smell that bad, or anything else. So they would come back crying, or I can't believe that, this happened. And then they would start crying. So they always went to guidance crying. Well, I just sat down with guidance. Hey, look, this is what we know about the class. This is how we build the program. I need, for me, our first level starts as a junior, because it's double blocked. So where they get the first 2 courses with me their junior year, they get the last 2 courses with me their senior year. And it may just be they don't really understand how this works. It's not as easy as an English 1, English 2, English 3. And especially when I know within Tennessee we've got diagnostic and we've got therapeutic, and they may not understand that. So one thing that's real easy is creating a pamphlet for them. And then that's even something that they can give to students. If they're starting out their 9th grade year, meeting with their guidance counselors on where they go from here. Hey, honey, you're interested in medicine somehow? Let me help you. Take this to your parents, so your parents understand too. At my school, because of our magnet pathways, we also did a PowerPoint slide, and we showed that to our 9th graders when it came time for them to register. And we said, okay, here are your options within exercise science. This is what we can offer you, and this is the path that it would lead by your senior year. And giving them an idea, too, of what it would look like. The other thing with guidance is they get no love. There's Teacher Appreciation Week, and there's Nurse Appreciation Week, and there's Principals Appreciation Week, and then everybody forgets when it's Guidance Counselor Week. but you be the teacher that really put it on your calendar every year. Put a big old sticky note, everybody loves candy, and you take them some candy and you say thank you. I had this one particular student, and we've all had that one student that gets on our everlasting nerves. And that's that student that makes you want to go home and do some hot yoga with a glass of wine afterwards, and then take another mental health day the next day off so you don't have to see them. Guidance can help you with those students. And when I had to send that student to guidance because she told the hospital where she does the internship at that she wanted to stab herself in the eye with a fork versus dealing with a patient. And then I thought I was going to lose it on said student and ruining, that relationship with the hospital. They were able to talk to that student. The next day, I brought on Starbucks. And I said, thank you so much for dealing with that student, because I can't do what you guys do. I am not empathetic. I know that many of you in listening are nurses, and we've got some lab people. And Jason, I know you understand, because I want to see a broken bone. I don't want to see you crying. And when you start crying, I'm going to have somebody, push some Ativan or some Haldol or something because I don't do emotional. Nurses are phenomenal because I can't do emotional, and that's your guidance. So really take care of them. Send them a thank you note. Handwritten notes go such a long way now, especially with everything going on. So just take the time to really appreciate them, and they will take care of you, I promise. They will make sure that crazy kid that probably is going to sit in the back of your classroom and pick their boogers and not do anything is not going to be in your class. Or the student who, in the middle of a scheduled observation with your principal and somebody from your district office is in there, and then they speak up and go, I don't really care about this topic because I want to go do this now. Do I have to do this lesson? And you want to, they will take that student and they will guide them into a good direction, and they'll keep them for the rest of the class. And then you send them a thank you note. And then the last thing with this is, that goes back to providing the cheat sheets or the pamphlets for them as they get started. But doing what you guys are doing now, and I'm giving you snaps for being in on this professional development. I know that Ms. Charnell said that it's not required of you, so good for you guys on doing this and taking the time out of your afternoon when so many of our afternoons are now chaotic because of what's going on. We are dealing with not just unusual teaching, but it's truly a pandemic, and it affects all of our lives with, kids crying over blueberries versus blackberries earlier. And so the stress level is crazy. So thank you for taking that time to network and connecting within your district, and then connecting with other teachers. So Rhonda and myself and Katrina may be able to join us here for the last few minutes. We're here for you, and we are here to help in any way that we can. Another way is through the consortium and saying, going to the conference. Mia mentioned that she was there at the conference in St. Louis, and we loved it. It was cold. I do remember that. But I had some phenomenal heels on during the conference, and we have pictures of it. And just making those connections with other teachers and meeting some of your presenters like Starla. And 2 years ago in Denver, Bill Kuhn was one of the presenters, and he has now video conferenced with my students on numerous occasions. And it's just reaching out. It's just taking that moment to say, hey, how are you? What state are you from? Oh, I'm so glad you're able to join us. And Mia, you'll remember this from the conference too with the bands, and you had to pop every time it was negative. Don't sit next to a friend teacher because they're going to pop your band instead of theirs. So my good friend Lisa was sitting beside me, and even occasionally now she'll text me and she'll go, okay, I need to pop my band. And she lives, an hour and a half, 2 hours away. We don't get to see each other a lot, but it's knowing that we can be there for each other. So what we've done here, and again, Katrina was originally scheduled for this. She was nice and created this great slide for you guys. I know that we are all on Facebook, and we are all probably somewhat addicted to social media, and that is fine. It is perfectly fine. These are some of the groups. So I know that you guys have the Health Science Teachers of Tennessee group. And then there's also some subdivision groups within Tennessee. So there's a group that's just for diagnostic medicine for Tennessee. And then there's another group for therapeutic services for Tennessee. And you can join those. One word of advice, if they say, hey, answer these questions, then answer them. Because if like us, then you don't get to join unless you answer the questions.
Hey, Karen.
Hey, Katrina.
Hey, can I talk about HSEA real quick?
You absolutely can. I didn't realize you were there because I couldn't see everybody, but yay!
I just need to pop your band, that's all. I need to pop you.
I know, Lisa, I'm going to go for it.
Okay, so I understand not everybody is a social media person. I understand. I saw that in the chat just a few minutes ago, but I think I've met more people on the Instapot group on Facebook than any other group. But if you're going on Facebook already for other things, you would not believe how many health science related groups there are, and also regular education. If you want to learn a little bit more about technology or anything like that, there is a Facebook group for that, y'all. And the good thing about it being on Facebook, I mean, there's pages and then there's groups. So send me a chat. I'll see it. As everybody know the difference between looking at somebody's page versus being in a group. When you're on somebody's page, like NCHSE, our parent organization has a page, and when people post on it, everybody can read what they post. Okay, thanks, Jacqueline. But when you're in a group, it's usually a private group, and then you can post things to other teachers without your boss seeing it, or dependent, and you can really get some unbiased opinions. If you want to shoot somebody an idea, like say you want to do a patient care tech program, I saw that on the spreadsheet, somebody was talking about that. You can connect with some other teachers who are teaching that same curriculum, that are teaching that same curriculum on other parts of the United States. So NCHSE developed HSEA as a teacher organization as a way for health science teachers to connect with each other. Now, NCHSE has a lot of things going on, and it's awesome. They also have groups, partners in the publishing world and stuff like that. But HSEA is just for teachers. And there is a fee to join HSEA, but, right, thank you, Nancy. But you can join the Facebook group for free. So if you go on Facebook, even if you don't love Facebook, you just go into that search box and type in Health Science Educators Association, and the group will pop up and you ask to join. Okay, so the good thing about joining HSEA versus being in the Facebook group, which is awesome, and like I said, the purpose is connecting with other teachers that teach the same thing you do. but if you join and the group, you get access to some online resources. Now, in that slide, there was also the Google Drive from South Carolina. And you'll have an opportunity to be a part of HSEA because of your participation today. So that's definitely not it. Health Science Educators Association. There we go. Yeah. That's how you know it's the right one, because it's got the HSEA in green on it. So you have to ask to be admitted. We don't let just anybody in there. We don't let students in there. But I'm the one that lets people in the door, and I don't let people in that don't have a profile on Facebook, because they might be from a foreign country trying to hack our group and sell us a bunch of stuff we don't need, right? So this is a great, again, free place to go and talk about your programs and get some other resources and ask people what they're doing. I can't say enough about this organization. It's for teachers. And also ACTE. I was looking at your spreadsheet at what professional organizations you guys have joined. And I wasn't sure if anybody was also a member of ACTE. And you have a Tennessee group that's for career and technology teachers. I hope that they have some kind of teacher conference for career and technology teachers in Tennessee. Maybe not everybody gets a chance to go, but if you're not a social media person, I hope there's some conference where you can go and, right, thank you, sorry, too much alphabet soup. Association for Career and Technical Education. I know that there's one in each state.
You want me to, let me see if I can find. So as the screen is sharing, I pulled up the Facebook group. Because I'm a member of it, then they can kind of see some of the posts that we've got going on. But as you were saying, you're not going to be able to see what's actually said within the group until you join. And so that's really good. And I'll see, while Katrina talks about some of the other ones, I'll see if I can find those groups. I'm searching just within let me get back to my Facebook. You can keep talking, Katrina. Okay. I'll just find it.
Okay, so I just wanted to encourage everybody, the National Conference for Health Science Teachers. And like I said, when I say health science, it doesn't mean they're all nurses. Rhonda and Karen and I and Nancy and I are nurses, but we're not an all nurses group. It is an awesome conference to go to where you literally meet people from all over the country, because health science does not look the same in Tennessee as it does in South Carolina or in Texas, Lord forbid, or a lot of other places. But the good thing about talking to other teachers is that you can find out something that they're doing in another state that might work for you. And there's just so many more things you can find out that way. And the conference is in Charleston, South Carolina, which is a drivable distance.
So, yeah, Katrina, I've pulled up that ACTE or the page for them to see, so you can see it's the logo, and then this is a page, so what you put in there would be visible. But hypothetically, I'm also from Texas, and I've got to move my chat box around.
That's true. I'm also a member of the Texas CTE teachers. That's bad, I know. And also the CTE Health Sciences page. There are a lot of things that might, that may be specific to the state, but there are a lot of other things resources that teachers share. Also, Project Lead the Way has their own Facebook group too. So Big Bar and Steel is the name of the game.
And so you can see with the Texas group, there's different poster ideas, questions of the day. They shared the webinar meetings, and then they also do have a lot of stuff about their HOSA information. And so when I see that, I just, hey, you know, their HOSA is going to look different than my HOSA, but this is something that, you know, they're looking at planning for next year if you guys are already in that same boat, and stuff like that. So research projects, all different kinds of stuff. So I'll put it back on the Google Slides. That way, Katrina, if you want to wrap up anything or share any more.
Yeah, I think let's go to the chat and let's get some questions and see what kind of things people have questions about.
Wow, they don't really have any questions. Would you like to share the screen, or do you want me to?
That's okay. Can you, yeah, just wrap it up on that one right there. So that's a picture from your website, you know, the Shelby County CTE website. And I just thought that was an awesome picture of your students. And I'm sorry I missed the first part of the session. I was getting equipment on a budget. Excellent. So Jacqueline, I'm hoping that you had much luck putting in requests for Perkins funds? I'm hoping, Jacqueline, that your district shares Perkins funds for new equipment pretty equitably among all the areas.
Jacqueline, one thing that you can do is, as you're building those community partners, is when I started at my current school, things had been ordered for me without thinking about what classes I was going to be teaching. So I contacted a hospital that we have a good relationship with and that I have a personal relationship with, and they actually donated some beds for us, and they donated some other things. Now, the beds didn't work very well, but they had like a warehouse of, hey, you can, it literally kind of just fell off the truck and we didn't have to pay for it. So those are some ways that if you don't have a lot of the money, you can go and ask some of your local doctor's offices and hospitals for some of the equipment. Or even, hey, I'm starting EKG or I'm starting phlebotomy. I don't know what would be the best equipment to ask for if you don't have a lot of experience.
I'm going to pipe in just for once. One of the biggest things you can have if you are just trying to improve your current program, or even just start a new one, or, you know, or merge with another program, whoever you have on your career and technology advisory board is so important, because those are the people in the professional community that you can say, you know, you have them on your team. So it's not just you saying, oh, I want this. It's them supporting you from that professional environment to say they really need this in order to have the best opportunity and the best clinical experience for the students. So because you can, with a lot of these programs, you can sign students up and get them to pass a test. But if they were to walk in and actually have to do that job, they're not prepared if they've just done it online. So you have to create those environments, even if you can't get in physically into a clinical place. How can you set that up so that they can get the most clinical experience out of it? That was one thing that, even if you are volunteering your students at local health fairs to do blood pressures, have them do one thing I did that was a huge success was I got with 3 of the local long-term care facilities, and I got with their recreation therapists. And so we did, the kids had to do their 2-step TB and They had to sign HIPAA, and we did that not as a work-based, but for any of the higher level clinical programs that we started getting doors closed on for clinical hours, they had to do 20, they would do an orientation, they would have to do like 20 hours of volunteer work with this coordinator. And many of them, even though it's been 2 to 3 years, are still volunteering with those recreation coordinators today. So even though they're not doing actual patient care, they're interacting with patients, and they're becoming really versatile at talking with dementia and Alzheimer's patients, and they don't walk in terrified the first time that they have to do that in a real job. So those are just some ideas I have. You know, get your board of directors on you know, your advisory board. Keep them involved. Have them coming in to your classrooms every 6 weeks or so. Every 4 to 6 weeks, have another one rotating through, and have a little leadership skills thing. Have them do mock interviews that are, you know, really important for them, and they will grow. They will grow those, you know, those skills that they need, those soft skills too. And if you have the support from the community, then it's going to make a lot more sense why you want to grow these programs.
Yeah, and Mia, you're right. The classroom labs are extremely important, and getting the hands-on. One thing that is great to know, that you've got teachers within your schools that probably need their blood pressures checked, and, you know, are more than willing to sit down and keep appointment times and go through those reminders with students, so they can even get different types of patients within your classroom, so you don't have just one high school student working on another high school student that may be athletic. And so you're dealing with different patient types and different patients with, you know, a variety of vital signs. And as you can see, the little one popped up again in the meeting. And Jacqueline, you're right. There is a shortage of nurses within schools, and that's one thing that you may be pulled out for. Definitely, you know, making sure you have some boundaries, but with medical emergencies, you want to respond, and you want your students to see you respond well, and that you don't lose your composure. You know, that's something that we do. Athletic training wise, my classroom is actually near the gym, and we've had students dislocate some patellas and some shoulders, and I go in there, my class follows me, and they see me do my job. And then they're like, oh my gosh, that's great. Or when they see the nurses do stuff. So that's great. I was just looking. Nancy was going to have Charnel share for just a few minutes as we
we have about 5 minutes left. And this isn't our last time together. So remember, we'll be together next Tuesday, same time. And then the next Tuesday, no, what's today? Today, Tuesday? Yeah.
Tuesday.
You know how Tuesdays are. Tuesday, right. So we'll be together again, but Charnel, I know you've seen some things going back and forth that you may want to address from the district level about how your school may or may not start for next year, or perhaps you wanted to say some things about Perkins. So if you're still with us, let us hand you the mic.
Hey everyone, again, good afternoon, and thank you all for being here. I don't really have anything at all to share. Amanda is going to share the survey. And I also wanted to tell you guys, if you do have the capacity and space to attend these sessions, like, please continue to do so, and reach out to your fellow health science folks and see if they could jump on too, because I think it's great when you guys can gather about all things health science. I think that's so important. And so Amanda, thank you so much Amanda has taken attendance, so make sure that she has your information so that you can get credit for attending this course. But not only that, there's a survey link that is in the chat. If you could just copy and paste that really quickly. You guys know I send a million emails. Y'all know I'm gonna email it out as well. And so if you don't get a chance to capture it, don't panic. I will send it in an email for you. But just really excited that you all have a space to gather and a space to talk all things health science. I think that's very important. So thanks again. That's pretty much all that I have.
Okay, well, thank you. It's been our pleasure. We have a couple of minutes. Does anybody have like one more thing? I'm always saying one more thing, one more thing. Does anybody have one more thing that you need to share before we close?
I just threw out in the chat room.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Oh, can I share one thing, please?
Sure.
Sure.
And so guys, to tell you that we were able to send a couple of teachers to the National Health Consortium conference. And I think Mia and Patrice are on the line. And I just want you guys to know that they came back with a chock full of information, but not only that, they were excited about some different pieces that they wanted to purchase. And so I don't know if you guys have shared or not, but there are some materials that you will get for attending these sessions. And maybe, Nancy, you have to correct me if I'm promoting it wrong, but it is some materials that you'll be able to utilize, or resources rather. And so I want you guys to think about this as an opportunity for you to make those bids for attending their conferences, because we're happy to send you there. And you know, I'll send out the survey to say, where do you want to go? And you have to fill it out, and we look at those things. But I promise you, it does have some weight when you can say, well, I attended the PD that was, you know, offered in May, June, and I want to go to the conference. Like, that really weighs a lot. And so thank you guys for being here. Again, I know that you have a lot to do. Trust me, I'm over here multitasking. You should see my screen. We had 21 sessions today, and this week, I'm sorry. And some of you have been in the other sessions today because I've seen you. And so hats off to you for getting all this stuff done. Like, y'all are amazing.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. And Chanel, as she said, is the queen of email. So she'll send you out the link to join next week. And that'll be the 26th, I believe. I'm saying that right, at 3 o'clock. No, at 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
Central Time. All right. Thank you, everyone. We look forward to seeing you again next week.
Thank you, everyone. I'm gonna hurt